Oh, good to have you with us here on the Youth Day edition of the South African Morning as we head up to 25 away from 8 o'clock. I'm Gareth Edwards. Good to be with you. You don't have to go anywhere today. It's a public holiday, but more importantly, it's Youth Day. So what does that mean? No, you're not going to go out and party. You're going to stay home, wear your masks, and avoid going out at all costs. So let's talk about those lockdown level 3 restrictions in place as of last night. They've been slightly tightened again. The president having that family meeting and announcing this move to level lockdown 3. One industry that has certainly been badly affected by the lockdown in its various levels is the tourism sector. The industry had somewhat been making a bit of a recovery with some domestic travellers letting their guards down. Is this going to change things, though? Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa joining us, CEO of the SA Tourism Business Council. Tshifhiwa, morning to you. So when you and I spoke all those months ago about going into level 1 lockdown, obviously you welcomed this for responsible travel. We got to level 2. There was a little bit of concern. And now we're in level 3. How are we feeling this morning?
Well, thank you for having me. We have been party to several discussions that have led to this type of restrictions that we are seeing at the moment. And of course, when you have a high level of infection, a lot of people tend to stay home. They avoid traveling, which does impact our industry. And of course, if you look further on this restriction, you will see that there is an hour again that has been taken away, meaning that now the curfew is at 10 o'clock. That will have an impact on the trading hours of restaurants, and therefore it will impact on the income. The same will apply to hotels, whereby they will have a less hour to sort of trade in terms of those that offer dinner or those that will be at the bar area. So we have been party to the discussions. We do believe that at the moment, having looked at the numbers that are rising, it may be prudent for us to compromise on the additional hour of curfew and some few other restrictions. But again, it will have a negative impact on the industry. It will slow down the recovery rate that we're in. And also it will have a negative perception overseas when those that are overseas look at how South Africa is performing. It will definitely mean that they will have to delay their trips, those that were coming. And those countries that have put us on the red list, it will simply mean that they will continue to put us on the red list.
Tshifhiwa, would you have done it differently if the president had come to you last night before the speech and said, OK, I'm thinking about pulling back on restaurant trading hours by an hour. We're going to increase the curfew by an hour. What would you have rather advised him? If he said to you, you decide, you tell me what to do, what would you have told him?
I mean, look, if I were to decide, one of the things that I would focus on is the rollout of the vaccines. And the president spoke extensively about that last night in terms of the difficulty that we face as a country. The solution to the problems or the challenges that we have in the tourism industry lies squarely at the Ministry of Health in terms of rolling out and procuring those vaccines. So, even though we can argue back and forth and say, this is how we should be doing it or this is how we should have done it, I think that we have learned from last year. Last year, the restrictions were severe than this year. It shows that there has been lessons learned, and the application of these lessons we can see now, with these restrictions that we're in. So, the biggest challenge is health and rolling out of vaccines. It's not necessarily the restrictions. If we had been vaccinating at a fast pace, we wouldn't be having this type of restrictions. So the challenge doesn't lie with choosing the hours of trade or, bigger gatherings and so forth and so on. It lies with vaccination.
If the health department was part of the Tourism Council, which we all know gives 5 stars for their performance as a business, Tshifhiwa, what would you rate the health departments in their handling of the vaccine and the rollouts? Because it's going to affect your bottom line in the end. So 1 out of 5 or 1 to 5 as a rating for the health department. What star are you putting on their office door?
Well, on the face of it, without knowing the details inside, one can be very critical in terms of, the rollout or the lack thereof of rollout of vaccine and the procurement process that we have gone through. There has been many hiccups in terms of, AstraZeneca. We have a setback now with the J&J doses that are contaminated. So if one has to look at that without looking at the details, one would rate them very, very low. But we also have to understand that these discussions are global. These are not discussions whereby we go to a supermarket and the doses are sitting on the counter and you produce your credit card or your wallet, and then you buy the doses. It's a complex procurement process that we do understand that there has been a lack of parity in terms of the countries that have produced these vaccines, making them available for countries like ours. So it's very difficult. It's a complex matter. And if one look in the face of it, I would score them very low without understanding the details. But if I was sitting in those discussions, seeing the complex procurement process that one go through, the fact that we don't even have our own capacity to produce our own vaccine, and we are reliant on countries like your USA, your Germany, and many others like UK that have produced this vaccine, including Russia and China. The procurement processes can be complex, and I wouldn't want to judge those that are sitting in there dealing with these issues. I do believe that we have smart people sitting in this.
Tshifhiwa, I need to say goodbye to you. I'm not going to let you go. You've got 5 seconds. You've got to give them a rating: 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'm not letting you go. What's the rating for the health department?
It's difficult for me to rate them. Well, on the face of it, in terms of the rollout, one will say it's a 2. Although there is an improvement, but it's very difficult to rate the overall performance.
All right, I appreciate it. 2 out of 5, it seems, if you were to get a Tourism Council star. Of course, I'm trying to just relate to the Tourism Council and how they give stars. I appreciate you speaking to us. Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa, CEO of the SA Tourism Business Council, joining us here on eNCA.